Get up. Wake up. You see, this is not how we wanted to meet, but we're here and we need you to come up with us. Come up with us as we unite and persevere through unprecedented challenges. Come up with us as we unite and progress to heights thought unattainable in these unpredictably trying times. Come up with us as we unite and propel one another forward with the unmitigated determination and drive of Elizabeth Evelyn Wright. Come up with us as we begin a college semester like none that has ever existed, and together we move up. Welcome to Voorhees College, Fall 2020.
Yes, my brothers and sisters, it's time to get up and stand up and do all those things that God has endowed us to do. I am Dr. Skip Mason, Director of Library Services at the great Voorhees College and Chair of the Lyceum Series. And I greet all of you in the Voorhees family and outside of the Voorhees family, and we welcome you to another Lyceum Series today. And I tell you, my brothers and my sisters, we are in for a treat today. We have with us the great Dr. Daniel Black, a profound author, professor, Africanist, spiritualist, and all of those wonderful kinds of things. And we are going to be in for a treat. I greet you on behalf of the president of the college, Dr. W. Franklin Evans, and our provost, Dr. Ronnie Hopkins, our Vice President of Student Services, Mrs. Charlene Johnson, for whom the Lyceum Series falls under, members of the cabinet, faculty, staff, and students. Get ready for your Lyceum Series service today. Let us now, as we always do, and is the custom and tradition at Voorhees College, we always begin each event in prayer. And so if you would gather for just a moment, gracious God, you have honored us on this day, and you have allowed us to open our eyes, to smell and breathe your beautiful air, to move our limbs, to go about doing what you have called us to do. God, we ask now that you would gather all of the people in the village from the north, south, east, and west throughout the land virtually as we gather to hear from one of our great elders in our community and in our world. We pray, God, that you will open our eyes and ears so that we might receive this great knowledge and be better for it. We pray your continued blessings on all students across the land, all schools. We ask, God, that you will bless those who are experiencing COVID-19. We pray, God, that you will heal our land. And we do all of this as we fondly remember our founder, Elizabeth Evelyn Wright, and as we celebrate all that is good about Voorhees, a place where you can begin, become, and believe. We thank you and we give this Lyceum to you. In the name of your son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. It is my distinct pleasure to bring to you our wonderful Dean and Chair of the Department of Humanities, who will now come to introduce our keynote Lyceum speaker for today, Dr. Tawana Chenault Hemby. Good morning, Dr. Hemby.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And we know you're doing well because you always brighten up the place wherever you are. And we are so honored that you will present our speaker and presenter for today, one that you are very fond of and had the opportunity to see. So we invite you now at this time to share in presenting our keynote speaker.
Dr. Mason, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this very special Lyceum series. He is near and dear to my heart. And so without further ado, Dr. Daniel Black is an award-winning novelist, professor, and activist. His published works include They Tell Me of Home, The Sacred Place, Perfect Peace, 12 Gates to the City, The Coming, and Listen to the Lambs. In 2014, he won the Distinguished Writers Award for the Mid-Atlantic Writers Association. The Go On Girl National Book Club named him Author of the Year in 2011 for his novel Perfect Peace. Perfect Peace was also chosen as the 2014 selection of If All Arkansas Read the Same Book by the Arkansas Center for the Book at the Arkansas State Library. The novel has been reprinted more than 10 times and is being heralded as an American literary classic. Dr. Black has also been nominated for the Townsend Literary Prize, the Ernest J. Gaines Award, the Farrell Grumbley Literary Prize, the Lambda Literary Award, and Georgia Author of the Year. In 2015, Dr. Black's The Coming was published to broad acclaim. The novel is a firsthand account of the trauma and the triumph of Americans aboard a slave ship in the 16th century. Reviewers have called this work brilliant and poetic, and a literary homage to the lives of those Africans tossed into the sea. In 2016, Dr. Black's long-awaited novel, Listen to the Lambs, was published. This novel explores the lives and the agency of homeless people who find each other on the streets and create a life without material substance. Dr. Black's work has been justly celebrated, as it should. National Book Award-winning author Charles Johnson says, "The Coming is powerful and brilliant." He goes on to state that this is a work to be proud of. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Alice Walker says Perfect Peace is a spellbinding novel that kept her reading late into several nights. A story about a young boy raised as a girl until she was 8 years old and then forced to be a boy. It is a gift to have so much passion, so much love, so much beautiful writing, so flawlessly faithful to the language of ancestors who grappled as best they could with more than they could have ever understood. This novel will one day be a film of much benefit to us if it is done right. The visuals of it will help us to see what we're often so blind to, that the great fluidity in all things, including race and sexuality, exists. Thank you, Dr. Black. Dr. Black works intermittently as a diversity consultant. He's spoken to top-tier companies such as Google, Zuckerberg Initiative, the AT&T Global Payments, and he assists them with this goal of creating a work environment where all employees of every level and every difference can feel supported and valued. This is Dr. Black. He's a native of Kansas City, Kansas, and he spent his formative years in rural Blackwell, South Arkansas. Dr. Black graduated from Clark College, which is now the Clark Atlanta University, where he earned the prestigious Oxford Modern British Studies Fellowship, which allowed him to go and study at Oxford University. He was awarded a full fellowship to Temple University, where he studied with poet laureate of the Black art movement, the Sonia Sanchez, and earned his PhD in African American Studies. Dr. Black is a professor of African American Studies to the core of who he is at his beloved alma mater, Clark Atlanta University. And he is also the founder of Ndugo Nzinga Rites of Passage, a national mentoring society for African American youth that he pours his heart and soul out to so well. And so it is my privilege and my honor to introduce to some and present to others the Dr. Daniel Black.
Wow. Wow. You know, first of all, where did y'all find those pictures?
It's called digging it up. It's called perusing your Facebook page and other sites.
Oh my God. And I should have left it up to you, Dr. Mason, to find them.
Right,
you know,
right.
Wow. You know, let me say an amazing thank you First to you, Dr. Mason, who is my dear friend and my brother for years and years and years, and my bosom pal, you know, for inviting me, for finding it worthy that I might stand in the threshold of the great Voorhees tradition. I certainly know about Voorhees College, certainly know about Denmark, South Carolina, and I'm thrilled to be here. Dr. Hemby, thank you. And I remember so well you and the students at College of Charleston when I did a reading of The Coming there. Mm-hmm. And you all were just so rapt and so raptured. And I loved the students' focus, the students' questions, just a bastion of brilliance at Voorhees. And I'm just absolutely positively thrilled and happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do several things today. First of all, I want to say to all the students at Voorhees, congratulations at being at one of the most prestigious institutions of higher learning in this country, right? Be very, very clear. Be very clear that Voorhees, it has a tradition of excellence and has a tradition of intellectual scholarship that puts you in the league with the best and the brightest. Never, ever forget that. I'm here to talk about this book titled The Coming, which is the story of our people's coming, the story of the coming of the Middle Passage, the story of Black men and Black women who endured unbelievable trials and tribulations and triumphs in order to get here and in order to pave the way for your being who you are and where you are. And then came the disaster. With open arms, we embraced those who looked nothing like us, assuming that all life honors life. But we were wrong. In the end, we fed and strengthened our own captors. We cannot claim naivete. We cannot say we were people undeveloped. We cannot say there were no signs. We can say only that we did not heed them. Sound wisdom was as common to us as the evening breeze. We scoffed and shrugged at elders' forewarning of a time of great tragedy and chaos. We did not believe them. We had learned to ignore our own gods, to take their goodness for granted, to believe that because of them, we were immune to external attack. So we did not hear them. We heard only what we sought to hear. But now we hear it all, echoing in our regretful memories. If only we could have seen into the future, we might have avoided this enslavement. But most of us had no such powers. The few who did, the seers and sages, we had dismissed. They were always speaking of things to come, talking of impending disasters that rarely came to pass, at least in our lifetime. But now we know that prophecies come to one generation, but materialize in the next. If only we had listened, if only we had had more disciplined ears, but we did not. And so we blamed ourselves, we blamed our gods, we blamed each other. But there was no one to blame, only shame to bear, and pity, yes, great pity, that a people so strong missed so many clues. The forest whispered it, the birds chirped it, the trees waved it, the antelope danced it, the tall grass swayed it, the lions roared it, the elders said it over and over, beware. Seek not the thing you do not need. Greed destroys wisdom. Let just enough be enough. We were too blessed. Our abundance suggested immortality, so we stopped searching for invisible things. Our mothers had worked so hard that we didn't have to. Our fathers had killed enough game that the sons hardly even knew the hunt. We didn't know then what we know now. A life of leisure destroys a child. When there's nothing to work for, nothing to gain, there's nothing to die for. So we Africans had to die that we might live again. And that's what we did. We died. By the thousands and hundreds of thousands, we died. We'd never seen such unjustifiable violence. Bloody bodies laying prostrate across the earth as if pleading for forgiveness. Those who survived did not mourn. There was no time. The loss was too great. We still have not mourned. We still have no time. We remember, yes, but we have not mourned. And so death came quickly. It came unannounced. It came cloaked in our own garb. It came white as clouds, smiling as if it loved us. It came in the darkness of night while we were laughing and talking with ancestors. Death came in legions with guns and ammunition too powerful to battle. It came like the monsoon winds, y'all. It came like a flood. It came with earth-shaking force we could not control. It came under the authority of nations we did not know. It came with men whose absent wives benefited from their husbands' despicable behavior. Death came with men whose children would one day inherit their father's legacy of violence and wealth ill-gained. Death came to strip the land of its glory. It came to thousands and hundreds of thousands without sympathy for our loss. It came with impale brutality. Death came to scatter children's blood-soaked bodies about the earth, thus fertilizing dry, yearning soil. But in the end, death came to teach us that we were brothers. And this was the coming. Some were taken by surprise. Some were killed on the spot. Some were taken in their sleep. Some were ambushed in the forest. Some were tricked into believing they were going for a walk. Some, consumed with hatred, were just caught off guard. Some were inebriated. Some were too lazy to fight. Some were busy settling communal affairs. Some were nursing wounds inflicted by spouses. Some were telling children bedtime stories of talking spiders. Some were beating drums to warn others, but the rest of us were not listening. And so when the drums fell silent, it was too late. Our destruction was complete. An entire village destroyed in one solitary cycle of the sun and moon. They destroyed our homes and forced our leaving. They bound us with chains of heavy iron. Elders rendered mute and lifeless. Babies deprived of life's knowing. All we could do was wonder. We did not speak. There was nothing to say. In those moments, we knew that our elders loved us far more than we had understood before. But they could not hear our cries, our pleas of lament, not with the ears of the living. So one by one, they took us away. They took the farmers first, those who knew the land, the earth, the ingredients of the soil, those who heard its rumble, felt its movement, understood its seasons, those who knew seeds and germination, plant spacing and harvest. They took them first. It was no accident. They would walk upon the soil in homage to its life-sustaining power. They would farm again in a new world, feeding a nation committed to their very degradation. And after the farmers, they took the healers. They were not hard to find. Most days they lingered about the village, repairing bodies and minds too troubled to heal alone. They had learned from us the value of our healers. They knew that without them, we were weak, vulnerable people. If they took our healers, they must have assumed, they also took our ability to mend. And they were right. So they captured our healers that we might not rebound. Villages of frightened men and women would take years to restore. But they knew this. Their strategy was as calculated as the hyena's attack. Without shaman who would usher life back into our suffering souls, who would reassure us that death had not come to stay, who would cleanse the forest, the land of its evil energy, we did not know. What we knew for sure was that in one day, panic and uncertainty became our way. And after the healers, they took the storytellers, that our stories might never be told. And after them, they took our collective strength, our warriors, that we might be diminished. And after them, they took the artists, who told us that we too were beautiful. They chained and muted orators and teachers to stop the flow of inspiration and to abort the belief that we too were gods. They murdered gatekeepers on the spot, since at their word, multitudes of angels would have come. And they would have come, but they were never called. And finally, they slaughtered those whose gifts were less visible, although to us, no less valuable. Keepers of knowledge, masters of the spirit, gurus of assistance, guardians of order and balance. In the end, they stole away everyone and everything that made us strong. This was the coming. We marched quickly. We marched through forests. We marched over hills and valleys. We marched through hot desert land. We marched alongside waterfalls and brooks. We marched through high grass. We marched on barren earth. We marched past monkeys dashing in the distance. We marched past giraffes whose frantically swiveling heads told us never to give up the fight. We marched past anthills wherein frightened ants scrambled hysterically, then vanished out of sight. We marched past gardens sprouted but not tilled. We marched past neighboring villages we thought we despised. We marched past sites of rituals where we'd known spirit possession and healing. We marched past communal huts where government officials met to solve collective dilemmas. We marched past people we didn't know. We marched past people we thought we despised. Those same people would tomorrow be our only hope of living. We marched through regions we had never seen. We marched until some of us died. They were chained and tossed aside. There are no markers to commemorate them. Of this we are certain. We marched and we marched from the rising to the setting of the sun. We marched. Then we collapsed and the moon gave us ease. They put us aboard their large ships, put us below decks in the dark, in the black purple darkness, like books upon a shelf, packed so closely we could hardly breathe. Yet on the 15th day, our humming began at a cool, even pace when beats were slow and lulling. A man purred a dark melody. We could not see him, but we heard him clearly. It wasn't a groan from pain and desolation, but deliberate lines of constructed meter and time that jarred our spirits and forced our participation. And so one by one, we joined in. Some in the upper registers, some in the depths of the voice, having found a language, a medium of communicating that needed no words. We hummed until we knew we'd survive. We hummed until we released mothers and fathers whom we'd never see again. We hummed until our love for and gratitude to each other was clear. We hummed a celebration for living, for fighting, for refusing to die, for enduring when giving up would have been so much easier. We hummed our commitment to raise our children wherever we went in the way of our people. We hummed that our women slightly above might know we had not forgotten them. We hummed for the dead lying next to us, for the children not yet born. We hummed for children born but traumatized. We hummed for kinsmen, yesterday's enemies who were now precious, coveted friends. We just hummed. And on the 25th day, we began to blame ourselves. Had our feet been slow? Were we just not smart enough? Were maybe our lips too big? This was traumatic for us, for we had always understood ourselves as beautiful. Our bodies had always been the encasement of our adornment, of our clarity that we too looked like God. But now, we began to question ourselves. And we even wondered, would there ever come a day where we would tell this story and our children, maybe our children's children, would not believe it? Would a day ever come when we would sit and speak the details of our coming to this land and our children would want to know, is that a myth, grandfather? Would a day ever come? We did not know. What we knew for sure, for certain, is that it would have to be told, that it was a story that absolutely must be told, and that had no beginning. and no perfect ending. It was all so devastating, but this was the coming. Voorhees College. We have to understand the price paid for us. That's really what I'm here to tell us, that someone paid an enormous price for the continuation, if you will, of Black flesh in America. Someone paid enormously. We jumped overboard. We died. We were beaten. We were maimed. We were branded. But while they were doing that to our bodies, our spirits were outthinking them. And our spirit said there would be children one day. Yes, there will be children one day who will come along and who will go to a place like Voorhees College, a place like Clark Atlanta University, a place like Morehouse College, a place like Howard University, a place like Hampton University, right? A place like Spelman College, where they would come to know and come to understand that their lives are not free, that someone paid very dearly for their existence. And so what I've come to tell you today, Voorhees, is that you cannot fail. You have no option. You must succeed. What difference will it make if, in fact, you fail? Who will care if you never become what you dreamed? Have you ever wondered how the whole world would be affected if you were never born? Well, I'm going to answer that question for you. If you don't succeed, some child will suffer from cancer a lifetime because you were supposed to have been the doctor who cured it. That's right. If you don't succeed, Voorhees, more Black men will get gunned down in the street because you were supposed to sit on the Supreme Court and change the laws of this land. If you don't succeed, obesity and other health problems will persist in this country because you were supposed to teach us the difference between McDonald's and a Happy Meal. If you don't succeed, Black people, we will walk around with broken arms and stumble about with wounded legs because you were the doctor who we were supposed to visit. If you don't succeed, the air will be too toxic to breathe because you were supposed to be the environmental scientist who insisted upon new emissions standards to protect this precious earth. If you don't succeed, we will have nothing but trash to read because you were the next Pulitzer Prize winning novelist. You're the one whose book we've been waiting for. Don't you get it? The whole world will go to trash if you don't make it. Nothing will work right in this universe if you give up. Chaos will take over this planet if you fail. So Voorhees, you cannot fail. You can't decide you've gotten tired. You can't do only half your homework just because we're in a pandemic. No. You can't let mama's failures and daddy's shortcomings stop you. You can't waste time drinking and smoking weed and doing all the other things some young people do. You can't do that. Your mind is too precious. We need you. We need someone to come along and to end this insanity called racism. We need someone to come along and to discover finally the cure for sickle cell anemia. That someone is you. We need someone to figure out how to heal people from mental illness and crack addictions. That someone is you. We need someone to do mathematics so well that they can get us to Mars and back without it taking a lifetime. We need you. We need Black and brown brilliant minds just like yours to help us figure out why it's so difficult sometimes for us simply to look into each other's eyes and say simply, I love you. We need a new president of the United States, y'all. Someone who believes in all the people of this land. Someone who knows the history of Native American massacres and Black people's enslavement and women's exploitation and children's trafficking. We need a new Congress, y'all, full of people who know that sagging pants doesn't mean stupidity and weaves doesn't mean ratchet. Come on, somebody. We need a Congress full of people like you. But if you don't get there, Those other people will keep making laws against you. Laws that keep the police and give the police the right to shoot you dead in the streets with no repercussion. See, if you don't get to Congress, our condition is going to be our own fault. And not only Congress, some of you have to open businesses that hire people because of they are qualified, not because you prefer them. Some of you have to become teachers who aren't afraid to teach truth to power, not just the answers on a standardized test. Some of you have to become judges so that we stop locking up every Black boy who ever made a mistake. Some of you have to be the lawyers who protect them. And some of you have to be the preachers and pastors who pray coverage over them. But God's not going to do it, y'all, if you fail. God's not going to do it. God's not going to study for you. God's not going to write your papers for you. Come on, somebody. God's not going to take the exams for you. God's not going to send you easy teachers. God's not going to erase a bad criminal record if you decide to create one. God's not going to smooth out all your bad choices if you forget that choices have consequences. You have to succeed, young people, because everybody's life is waiting on yours. We're in the middle of a pandemic right now because we can't seem to find a vaccine. But if you were the doctor, you with your brilliant Black self, we'd already have one. That's the difference you will make in the world. This is why we're banking on you. This is not hype. This is not just a cute Lyceum speech. This is life and death we're talking about. Hundreds of thousands of lives have been lost because somebody simply didn't do his or her homework. Someone decided that science was too hard. Woo! So they settled for an C instead of pressing for an A. Come on, somebody. Woo! But that's not you. It can't be you. If you don't make it, don't you see what will happen? Young people, the world is crying desperately for the sharpest minds to come and save us all. We're living in dangerous times. Your job is to make things right again. But you can't do that fighting over silly things. You can't do that when you get tired of homework and decide simply not to do it. No, we need strong soldiers in this battle. Soldiers who aren't afraid of pain, right? Come on, soldiers who can take a little setback and keep on pushing. Soldiers who know how to stay in the battle. Come on, we need soldiers who can trust each other. Soldiers who will hold each other accountable for doing their best work. Soldiers who don't care about peer pressure. Soldiers who know that a woman can fight just as hard as a man. Soldiers who don't get lost in insignificant foolishness, like the most expensive sneakers. Come on, come on. We need soldiers who can think. Soldiers who understand that they are tall because of the shoulders upon which they stand. Young people, you cannot let us down. Those on the middle passage, those in this coming dreamed you. They dreamed you. They dreamed you. They thought of you. They conceived you. And now here you are. I challenge you to believe that you were born Black and beautiful and divine. I challenge you to believe that God thought long and hard about your majesty, to know that your mother and father, big mama and pawpaw, aunties and uncles, cousins and your road dogs poured all their hopes and their dreams into you because you are the one. That's right. You are the one. I challenge you to outsing Aretha. That's right. Outsing Aretha. Don't match her. Outsing her. Stand upon her shoulders and outsing her. I challenge you to outrun Usain Bolt. I challenge you to write more books than Maya Angelou, to compose more music than Quincy Jones, to play more instruments than Prince. I challenge you to create more dance moves than Michael Jackson. I challenge you to love harder than your mother. That's right. I challenge you to give more freely than your father. I challenge you to outpray your grandmother, to dunk more balls than LeBron James, to shoot more three-pointers than Steph Curry. I challenge you to change more political systems than Stacey Abrams, to do more justice than Thurgood Marshall, to march far longer and harder than Martin Luther King. I challenge you to run to class, to run to your computer, and log into class at the same speed that Harriet Tubman ran to freedom. That's right. I challenge you to knock out exams like W.E.B. Du Bois, to fight for righteousness like Nat Turner-led rebellions. I challenge you to out-rap Kendrick Lamar, to drop more bars than J. Cole or Drake or Missy or Lizzo. That's right. I challenge you to out-preach T.D. Jakes, to out-dance Beyonce, to stand more boldly than Fannie Lou Hamer, to read more books than Barack Obama. I challenge you to write more beautifully than James Baldwin, to sit on the shoulders of Toni Morrison and teach her the beauty of your resplendent metaphors. Someone among you is even funnier than Kevin Hart. Many of you ladies possess the same brilliance of Michelle Obama. You share her beauty. I see you. You're already here. And your job is to walk more gracefully than Diane Carroll, to have more dignity than Frederick Douglass. You students at Voorhees, your job, sons and daughters of the midnight sky, is to lift your heads everywhere you go and never believe that you ain't supposed to be there. That's right. You, the dark and lovely, the black and holy. You are commissioned to teach the world what integrity looks like. It is your job to demonstrate that in the midst of white supremacy, blackness and black power shall still reign. Death didn't make you quit. A drug-addicted mother wasn't enough for your failure. An emotionally unavailable father was just a little hurdle that you had to climb to get where you are. Well, here you are. Here we are. And we are divine together. There's nothing you've ever done that is enough to erase your destiny. And your destiny is to rise high. Your destiny is to climb high, young people, senior people, faculty, administrators at Voorhees. Your destiny is to remember that the shoulders upon which you stand shall never fall. You might struggle. That's fine. That's called life. That's called living. That's called being. But struggle is not enough reason to quit. Most of us saw that movie called Katherine Johnson. I'm gonna say, y'all know the movie I'm talking about, right? They went to the moon and back. Hidden Figures. That's right. Hidden Figures. The beauty about Hidden Figures, there's this black woman, of course, who was doing this very complicated math, right? Doing this analytical geometry that got a white man to the moon and back safely. But what most people never thought of, what most people did not realize, is that Katherine Johnson and all the other black women in that film were products of historically black colleges and universities. That's right. Which means what? The brilliance of a black college education will take you to outer space. And do not ever forget it. It is enough. You are enough. We are enough. Anything great that's come before you is simply paving the way for a greater you. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Everybody great who's come before us had their struggles too. Everybody great. Frederick Douglass spent a lifetime wondering what happened to his mother while he was writing some of the most amazing speeches on the planet. James Baldwin thought he was an ugly man, a physically unattractive man, while he was writing some of the most beautiful essays that have ever been put into print by any human being anywhere. Struggle is not the sign that you can't do. Struggle is the sign that you have the strength that's bigger than what you think is your struggle. Be very clear about who we are. Don't ever in your life believe that you cannot achieve. And finally, your placement at a black college is these ancestors saying, I believe in her. I'm going to set her up. Some of you are at Voorhees and you haven't been sure how you're going to pay for it, but you're still there. Some of you, grandma, uncle, cousins, nephews, all poured money together to send you. And that's why you owe. But the question is, why did they send you? What's special about you? What's magical about you? What's transformative about you? So that people would feel the need to send you. You are the hope of the slave. You are the dream from the grave. You are the person into which we have poured all of our possibilities. Our folks were picking cotton, calling your name. God help me today. Our people were literally picking cotton and calling your name. They were whipping our ancestors while they were calling your name. And they weren't even sure what your name would be. That's right. Before you were ever conceived, they said, Mary's coming. John is coming. Anthony is coming. Catherine is coming. Daniel is coming. Lisa is coming. Charles is coming. Andrew is coming. They spoke your name before your arrival. And now, young people, here you are. Here you stand. Nothing on this planet will ever defeat you. Not if you get clear about who you are. But America will destroy you if you believe that you are what America says you are. See, America says we don't love each other. America says blackness is ugly. America defines everything black as negative. Black cat, come on, somebody. You've been blackballed. Come on, somebody. A black cat is bad luck. The devil's food cake is chocolate. You see what I mean? But the angel's food cake is white. Ooh. So you see what they're doing? Directly and indirectly, the country is trying to teach you to despise yourself. But I'm here to tell you, there was a river of love for you that came before America. There was a river of transparency of people who knew you were coming one day and have already blazed the trail. All you have to do is walk it. That's your job, to walk it. I'm a proud graduate of Clark Atlanta University. Wouldn't possibly trade that education for anything, because when I finished Clark Atlanta University, I went to a school called Oxford University in England. The Oxford, absolutely. And I'm here to tell you, Clark Atlanta University was harder. That's right. Clark was far harder than Oxford. The standard at Clark was far higher than the standard at Oxford. I did tremendously well at Oxford because I had gone to Clark. Somebody listen to what I'm saying to you now. This is the same story for Du Bois. Most of you know W.E.B. Du Bois went to a place called Harvard University and got a PhD. Absolutely, he did. But the only reason he did, and the only reason he was ready to do so, is because he had gone to a black college called Fisk. In other words, blackness prepares the space. It opens the way for you. Then you can go in the world and do whatever it is you choose. Voorhees is also one of those gateways into the universe. Be clear of that. Know that. Understand that. And when you finish there, we will look for your name. We will follow you into the future, because you will know and you will understand finally that there's nothing and that there's no one who was sent to do anything greater than what you shall do. Thank you, Voorhees. I love you. Whoo, man.
Dr. Black, I tell you, my heart is racing. I have to exhale. I have to take a deep breath. Dr. Hemby, you were correct. And I tell you, Dr. Mason, you never cease to amaze this committee, this Lyceum committee, and this college, and bringing us so many wonderful people to drop nuggets. Well, actually, those were boulders you dropped on us today, Dr. Black.
Wow.
When we talk about begin students, hopefully you have listened and you'll begin to find out who you are. And he demonstrated that in a lot of the pictures, not only in his words, but the actual pictures it just has me over here in chills. Believe in the possibilities that he's talked about, students. And certainly you can surely become an author, or a professor, or a consultant, or whomever you want to become, just like Dr. Black. Recognize the price that has been paid for our freedom and the things that we have to continue to do, and take advantage of the sacrifices. Sir, I tip my hat to you. We appreciate you. You've motivated me. And this today was probably more for me than the students, because we've just been going through some tough times, and people think COVID and sitting behind Zoom is easy.
It's
But
not.
there's still challenges. But today, this Zoom was certainly one that I wouldn't trade for anything. And just thank you. We cannot thank you enough, Dr. Evans, the board, the faculty, staff, students. You are a jewel, sir. And again, Dr. Mason, keep pouring into us with these fine speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson, our distinguished Vice President of Student Services. And while Dr. Black was teaching, pouring, and preaching, Dr. Evans texted me and said, "Powerful, Dr. Black is on point." He is always on point. His students, they clamor to get into his classes. Every Friday at 6:30 on his Facebook page, he pours out this every Friday. And I'm right there, front row and center. And he is just powerful beyond, and we all needed that, Miss Johnson, as we continue to manage through these perilous times that we are in. And we are so grateful to you. And when Dr. Chenault Hemby came back, it was a confirmation. I had already reached out to you, and I mentioned to her that we wanted to bring you, and she just had a fit. And so I knew that the stars were aligned and everything was in divine order. We're so delighted to have you, and we thank you. The Lyceum Series is a age-old tradition at Voorhees, and the committee attempts to just bring some of the best and brightest people across the sphere to pour into our students. And while I have you all here, I just want to just share with you that we have copies of the coming. As you all know, many faculty and staff have picked them up. We were not able to get them out to the students prior to, but we have copies in the library, and we want you to have that. And students, all you have to do is contact us and we will mail you a copy very quickly. We have coming up on October the 20th for our Men of Color initiative. We have one of the great voices, community activists and rappers, Killer Mike, who will be the Voorhees family on primarily for the Men of Color initiative. And we have a great author, Sheila Moses, who is coming to inspire our students to continue to write, as you said, and to tell their story. So we are excited about all of the great things that are happening. And lastly, we're getting ready for the Tigers Day of Giving, Tuesday, December 1st, and more information will be poured out on that event as well. Dr. Black, Dr. Chenault Hemby, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Wright, Mr. Sumner, members of the Lyceum Committee, thank you so much for all that you do. And we look forward to our next event, which is our chapel on Tuesday, as we gather the Voorhees family together. We thank you, and this concludes our chapel series, and we invite you to support Dr. Black, get copies of his book, and to really just be enlightened and blessed by the phenomenal gift that is in the name of Dr. Daniel Black. Thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next Lyceum series. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you.